Got laid off? Wondering what comes next? What if I told you that your next move could be the best thing to happen to your career? Hey everyone, I'm Dre Jankowski. Today is the end of day 6 after my layoff, and this is the reboot era. As always, I'm going to discuss today's results, some more networking tips, but mainly, I want to take you behind the scenes of a conversation I had with a fellow college alum, someone who's been in the game for almost 10 years, the last 4 which have been in a brand new industry. She's made a bold career pivot and opened up about the messy, unspoken realities of layoffs, job searches, and mental health in high performance careers. This is not a list of 5 tips. This is the real talk you don't see on LinkedIn. They do want to remain anonymous, mainly because they enjoy their career and their current job. So I'm not going to say their name. I'm not going to say the company they work for, but they are a real person. So let's rewind. For anybody who's new here, about a week ago, I woke up, saw a text from coworkers saying, "Did you hear?" I opened my inbox and there it was, my layoff notice. I called my boss immediately and I was surprised. It stung nonetheless. Instead of wallowing, I made a choice. I decided to document this whole thing. And why? Because no one talks about what it really feels like to lose your job and how it can be to build something and then be better because of it. So, anyways, I think it was Monday. I talked to an alumni from my college, and she shared her story about her pivot from finance and investing to a tech company supporting sales operations. She had taken a 5-month leave for her mental health and came back stronger, landing a job in a completely different field. What stood out? She didn't wait for permission. She didn't have the exact background, but she asked questions, taught herself tools like Excel, Salesforce, and Tableau, and made herself invaluable. That's grit right there. That's what people don't tell you. Being good at your job is only half the equation. You have to be someone people want to work with. And this girl is definitely someone people want to work with. She's told me that she's had 5 different managers in 4 years at the current company she's at. One was pretty awful, but the others, super supportive and extremely empowering. The company's grown really fast, doubling in headcount to over 4,000 employees since she started. But even through the growing pains, she stayed. And I'm sure you're wondering why. If not, I was. And it wasn't because of the money, which I would have stayed for, because it's lower than average. It was because of the culture, the people, and the trust that she endured. That said, let's be real. The pay difference compared to some of the other big tech giants is significant. The total comp includes stock and quarterly bonuses, but base salaries are lower than industry standards. And yet, she stays because she's treated like a human being. What struck me most was this. When I asked what she was most proud of, she didn't mention a promotion or a KPI. She talked about the moment she walked away from a toxic job and how it affected her mental health. She made the leap without a safety net and used that time to reimagine what she wanted in a career. And now she's thriving. She's got the kind of job people dream about, not just because of the brand name, but because it aligns with her values. So here's what I want you to take away. There's 5 points. First, layoffs are not personal. They're a reset button. Second, your background doesn't have to be a perfect match. Your mindset does. Third, culture matters. Don't just chase comp alone. 4, mental health is a valid reason to pivot, period. 5, and finally, document your journey. Share your story. You never know who you might inspire or who might open a door for you. I'll definitely be sharing more stories like this of my networking calls. So if you like them, feel free to let me know. Speaking of networking, it's actually been a pretty hot topic since my video that I posted 2 days ago, and I've received a lot of questions on LinkedIn in my inbox. So you know what I did? I made another resource for you guys. Okay, so let's talk about the new resource before getting into my recap of the day. 2025 networking is not just about collecting contacts. It's about building those meaningful momentum. And here is a little cheat sheet that I created to help you do it right. First, I'm going to review some of the findings that I had. Then I'm going to share the resource. I'm going to walk you through an example, and then we'll get into my recap for today. So, first and foremost, the future is really tech enhanced, and it's not going to be focused on being tech driven. A lot of conversations out in the world today are talking about AI and how AI is going to take over. But the way we should think about AI is it's really something that we work with to match with the right people, to match our skill sets, to enhance our skill sets. But you're still going to have to focus on building those relationships with people and understanding what the inputs are. AI is only going to be as good as the inputs that we feed it. Some things to keep in mind about the future is VR and AR and social audio will make networking feel more immersive. If you haven't heard of it yet, but think of LinkedIn Live versus Clubhouse or Meets Clubhouse, really, and the two combined. You can use those platforms and Twitter Spaces or X Spaces to find your niche and authentic conversations and really find people you want to connect with. There are three types of connection types. There's strong ties, weak ties, and dormant ties. Some information to give you on those three types. Strong ties, these are trusted relationships, great for collaboration and referrals. You want to keep these warm, keep monthly check-ins and invite them to events, share updates with them. These are probably people who are interacting with your posts the most, on LinkedIn at least. Weak ties, these are going to be best source of new info and job leads. You want to re-engage with these people. So specifically start commenting and posting and sending short catch-up messages to them. Again, focusing on LinkedIn. And then dormant ties. These are old connects with new perspectives. Maybe like an old colleague you haven't spoken to in a while, or like an old like college alum who you haven't talked with in a while. Sending a quick thinking of you message shared with a memory or an update can really spark those conversations and keep them running, even over multiple years. Today, there's a shift in what the framework or the networking model looks like, and I like to think of it like a funnel. First, there's 5 points. You want to discover using AI tools or LinkedIn filters to identify strategic people. Then you're going to want to engage, commenting, sharing, interacting before you actually reach out to them. At that point, once you've done all those two steps, go ahead and send a connection request, but make it personalized if you can and send a message. Don't just like randomly ask to connect. Chatting, this is that fun part where you ask them, hey, do you have 20, 30 minutes for a quick coffee chat? In this, it's important. Don't ask about a job right away. That's not the point. The point here is just curiosity. You're just getting to know someone new. And then lastly, you're following up. Send a thank you and try to create like a plan to keep in touch. There is a blueprint for these coffee chats. So that's a great funnel when you're thinking about modern networking. But if we're looking at coffee chats specifically, let's say the meeting's already scheduled. You met the person online virtually, you sent them a message, they said yes to the coffee chat. Before you meet with them, you're going to want to research them a little bit deeper and have three to five thoughtful questions. You probably don't have a lot of time in 30 minutes, so three thoughtful questions is a good start. During that meeting or that coffee chat, be curious. Listen way more than you're going to talk. People love to talk about themselves. Here I am, right? Constantly talking. Afterwards, make sure you send a thank you, and it's important to do so within 24 hours. You don't want too much time to lapse where they forgot or they might feel like you've forgotten about them. And there's a great template that you can utilize. Thank you for taking the time to chat today. I really enjoyed learning about X and your journey at this company. I'd love to stay in touch and share updates as I continue exploring whatever your goal and whatever field you're working in. Lastly, LinkedIn strategy for 2025. Again, I shared a lot more 2 days ago in a video talking about networking and how to utilize your profile to be found and find others. But here's some additional tips. Optimize your headlines and create a summary for your searchability and storytelling. Engage in at least 3 times a week posts or comments so that you start popping up on others' feeds. Try to use personalized connection messages. Don't just copy and paste the thing that I just read above. Don't do that. And then ask for referrals if you can, but only after you've built rapport. Really avoid this on day one. It's a give and take, so don't just take. And with that, I'm really excited to let me share my screen and we'll hop into the resource that I've built. All right, so hopefully you guys have seen the other stuff inside the drive that I've shared with you. I've created, let's see, a resume template. I've created a new videos dropping where I created a cover letter template. And I think there's a third template on there, but I honestly don't remember at this point. So this one is a networking template. And what's inside? Number one, here's the deep research if you're interested. So you can go ahead and take a look on this one. This is going to be what Gemini gave me for the deep research around what are the trends, what's new, what's happening in 2025 with networking. Then you can open this amazing Bible. So I'm calling this the Networking Bible 2025 edition. When you see it, there's going to be a blue hyperlink on click here. It's going to link to this video, and I'll even include the minute so that you can directly go to that moment for how to use this and the additional resource I have for you. So part one, it's going to talk about types of connections to build. We ran through these. One thing I did leave out was horizontal and vertical ties, so I want to just bring this up. These are largely going to be mentor mentees. So think about anybody in your current company or at a different company who's higher than you or lower than you, and you're giving them advice and helping them, taking them under your wing, or they're helping you. It should be reciprocal learning, so that's important. And then I also threw the cadence in here for how often you want to kind of spark that connection and have a coffee chat with them. We talked about the strategic, operational, and personal networks a little bit. Strategic is going to be executive sponsors and industry leaders. Operational is going to be cross-functional teammates or internal stakeholders. And personal is going to be like alumni, conference attendees, online communities. These are people you're meeting and having more than just work combos with. Reach out and engagement scripts. If you're awkward and nervous and don't know what to say, here's some scripts that you can use. Again, do your best to make them feel personal. You don't want to just copy and paste these messages. Mastering the coffee chat. We talked about this, what to do before, during, and after. Here's that thank you note if you want to copy and paste it, but again, try to make it your own. LinkedIn networking strategy. These are just additional tips on how to optimize your profile to find people. And then the meat and potatoes. Part 5, staying connected long term. I highly recommend using a tracker to log any connections, interactions, and next steps that you might have. I utilize Google Sheets. That's what I've created for you as a second resource here, and we'll dive into that in a second. Reconnect every 3 to 6 months with all of those contacts you have at varying levels. Share things out and then introduce people to each other when appropriate. So if someone in your network's looking to meet somebody and you have that connection, help them out. Here's just a little cheat sheet, strong ties, monthly check-ins, week ties, quarterly. We discussed a little bit about this, but you're going to want to reference this when you set them up. And something about dormant ties a lot of people don't think about is that they are really important. You met someone a year ago, reach back out. You never know. In my layoff, I've had a lot of people who I haven't spoken to in years reach out to me and just say, I want to help you, or how can I help you? And they've been really supportive. Networking frameworks and watchouts. I don't know if anyone here has heard of the REAL method. That stands for references, something real, an event, a mutual connection, or a post. Expressing interest in the person you're reaching out to, asking clearly and respectfully, whatever the ask is, and then limit the ask. Don't make it something massive. Make it something that they can do with a time box on it. Are you able to refer me to this position by the end of the week? Things that you're going to want to try to avoid are asking for a job too early, using generic connection requests, and just adding everyone. Only reaching out when you need something. That feels like a very memey or a one-sided relationship. Failing to follow up. People want to feel like they were heard, and it doesn't hurt to send a follow-up message. And then not adding value to the relationship. Yeah, everyone understands that you want something from them, but what can you give to them, right? Even if it's just an ear to listen to. And so lastly, if you don't have a tracker that you're using today, I've created a great tracking template for you with instructions on how to use the template. I'm pretty excited about this one because it does some cool things. So first and foremost, I'm going to hop back to the Google Drive. If you want to use this template, use the 3 dots over here. You're going to go ahead and make a copy. That will save it on your own local storage in your own Google Drive. Once you're in the tracker and you have your own, you're going to see this line item. It's just an example. So the name is John Doe. John is a software developer at Netflix. If anyone from Netflix is watching, I want to work there. Please help me. Connection type, these are important. I've already created these as a data validation list, so you just have to select from the dropdown, and I'll tell you why this is important in a second. The last time you had an interaction, this date's important. This is going to be the most recent interaction you had, and then a suggested follow-up date. So this is going to be determined based off of the type of connection they are, and I'll come back to that in a moment. Their preferred contact method, I typically just try to grab their email, notes, anything that you talked about, something that you could reference in a future conversation is always great. And then here's that email address that you want to make sure you grab. So why this column D is important. First and foremost, if it was a weak tie, let's move it to a strong tie and recognize the date in column F. Right now, it's about 3 months out because it's a weak tie. If I change this to a strong tie, you see how this date moves. And the reason for that is I created a formula that automatically calculates when you should be looking and aiming to connect with someone again based on their connection type. So if they're a strong tie, we're looking for moving out 45 days. If they're a weak tie, we're going 90. If they're a dormant tie, 180. And if they're a mentor or mentee, we're looking at 60 days out. Now, that's all cool but I'm sure you're thinking, great, you have a tracker for me, just one more tracker that I have to use. And I'm gonna have to go and take this, and I'm gonna have to go and create the meeting invitation. No, I want this to be efficient for people. So all you have to do is go ahead and select this row. And now any row of the person who you want to connect with, make sure you have the correct person selected. In this case, it's really important that you're using Google. I'm not trying to sell their business, but because I created this through a G Sheet, if you have a Google Calendar you're using or a Gmail, it's going to be the most helpful. So in this case, go ahead and highlight the entire row. And then up here, I've created a button for you called scheduling the follow-up. If you click that and you add it to the calendar, what it's going to do is it's going to run a script that I created for you. And then the Google Calendar event is created and the invitation is going to be sent to John. Now, that's not a real email address, so I'm going to get an error in my inbox saying, hey, we couldn't send it to this person because it doesn't exist. But not only will it create it for John, if you go to your Google Calendar, and that was June, let's see, oh, June 27th, right here at 10:30, which is the default time that it will set it to, I have my follow-up with John. So now instead of going and adding all of those updates, you have a meeting invitation, follow up with John Doe, whatever the name is. It will be at 10:30 by default. You can join with a Google Meet, which will be by default, or you can go ahead and add any like Zoom information, or if you're just going to call the person, you can just remind yourself that you're going to call them. And then any notes you took from the conversation. So if you don't remember what you talked about a month ago, you don't have to go like rifle through all of your notes. It's just going to be right here. Put your note in that note section and then ask John about the marathon he signed up to run back in July. That's going to be a great time. Now, I originally did this, remember, we were supposed to meet in August. That's why it's referring to July. So it's nothing's messing up here. And then it's awaiting a response from your guest. So they're automatically going to get their email, which is awesome. To solve the problem around using multiple different trackers, I'm probably going to have some other trackers that I'll throw out there for you in the future. One great way to do this is when you copy a template, let's say you want to use this 2025 tracker and you also want to use the budget tracker that I have, you could always copy this, add a new sheet, and then you could use this as your budget tracker and you could use the second sheet as your networking tracker. And so you can track everything for your job search and your career in one job sheet, in one Google sheet. So that's a really great way to leverage this and cut down on what you're doing. That's what I have for you regarding those. Let's talk about my results for the day before we sign off for the night. I'm looking over here today. The amount of jobs that I applied to are 10. I got 2 referrals, and I'm in the application. I'm under review for a total of 41 jobs. So, it was less than yesterday, but I'm still doing all right. I would say what worked today was probably, I had another networking call with someone, but this time I got to help them instead of the first call that I discussed earlier in this, where they shed light for me and helped me. What stung? I got my first hater today. I got someone who just like messaged me and decided they didn't necessarily agree with everything that I was doing. It wasn't bad. They didn't threaten my life, but I already lost my job. Why hate on me more? And what am I going to do differently tomorrow? This one's good. So if you haven't seen my video yet, go check it out around the cover letter. But I am joining the cover letter gang. My entire perception of cover letters has completely shifted. I will now be submitting them with my applications moving forward. So go check out that video, figure out why. And yeah, this is the reboot era. Follow for more real stories, strategies, and the real talk that you need to thrive in today's job market. Go ahead and comment, share if this resonated with you. Follow my other social medias, TikTok, Instagram, and LinkedIn. And don't forget, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss the next video. See you on the next one, everyone.